Okay, so I've got my DIY HERMS set up and I've just testing it out. So got the pot boiling here, as you can see that's pretty much at a boil. What I'm trying to do is test how well I can do an infusion. So tomorrow's a wheat beer brew day, so this is probably a couple of degrees under calibration. It's probably actually about 52 in there, but for some reason you can't calibrate that. But that's sort of where I want my first step of my infusion to be. I'm not going to bother with the acid rest because I can just add a little bit of phosphoric acid or lactic acid or whatever sort of acid I want. Citric, I've got a few there if the pH isn't where I want it to be, but I don't think I'll have any problems with that. What I want to do is actually see how effective this works and whether or not I'm going to actually need to add water for my step of infusion or if I can just use my makeshift HERMS coil here. The advantage I have is that I can put this old WORT chiller, which is now a HERMS coil, in my boiling hot liquor tank at any time and take it out, so I can somewhat control the amount of heat that's going to be exchanged into my mash tun. So as you can see, it comes down the long hose into the pump, then through the coil and back in, and there is in there, it's a bit dark but you should be able to see, there's the sparge arm, so to speak. It's get the flashlight here, be able to see a bit better. So I've got that roll on the surface so not to aerate too much. So anyway, what I'm going to do is, we're at 49.9 now, if you can see that. It's a little bit hard in this light. Here we go. I'm just going to start the timer and I'll put her in. I have to be careful here because it is a bit hot. Oh, this is hard to hold the camera and move something into a hot liquid at the same time without burning yourself. There it is, it's in. So that's in. Now let's just see if we can get that temperature there. Oh, already, look at that. 2, 3, 5. That is working incredibly well. Wow. And I guess we have to be mindful here that we are getting a reading pretty much, if you can see the thermo is right there, so I might just move the sparge arm back a bit, so that might allow us to get a more of a proper reading. But I mean, it's only going to go up by so far. 53.2. Where are we? So 1 minute and we've gone up by about 3.5 degrees Celsius, which is very impressive. And it's still going to fall. I'm going to give this a bit of a stir because I suspect that there's going to be hot spots and cold spots in this water. Of course, when I've got a mash in here, it's not going to be the same, but I can still give it a bit of a stir to begin with. The only thing is, I don't want to stir up that grain bed too much because it's going to be compacting with this recirculator system in place. So let's have a look where we are. 54.8 and 2 minutes down, so 4.9. So that's probably about 5 degrees in 2 minutes. Now, it's gone pretty fast, however I do believe that we'll find ourselves slowing down as time goes on, as it starts to approach the temperature of the hot liquor tank. The plan is that, obviously we can't really use 100-degree water in the mash tun. The plan is to do my infusions this way, and then when I need to lauter, I can add cold water to my hot liquor tank, take some hot water out if I need to, adjust with any brewing salts if necessary, and then, get my desired temperature of 76 for mash out. You can see that the temperature of the hot liquor tank has dropped slightly because of the coils in there, but that's okay. Realistically, it's going to be going down in temperature eventually. As I said earlier, we're going to put some cold water there, so I'm not really worried about that, and it's clearly doing a really good job. I'll turn the video off now and come back in, you know, a couple of minutes time. We'll see how long this takes to get up to our next step of about, we'll call it 67, and we'll see how long that takes.
Okay, well, we're just past the 11-minute mark now, and although we are seeing only 64.3 on the dial up front, if you remember at the start of the video I mentioned that this is not calibrated correctly, and you know, it's a pretty cheap little thing, you cannot calibrate it as far as I can see. There's no buttons or anything in the back of it. So what I'm going to do is actually take a temperature reading with my glass thermometer, which is very accurate, and you'll see that it looks like we're going to be at our saccharification rest temperature right now. So as you can see, it's getting to about 66, 67, probably even 68. That was in 11 minutes. I mean, you could probably say a conservative 10 and you're pretty much there. Now, this for me is a good thing. I'm going to use this. I'm not going to bother using water to infuse for a few reasons. One, I find if you adding water throughout the mash schedule, you know, sometimes if it doesn't really get where you want to with your calculations, then you're going to have to add more water than you want to, and you know, it sort of messes up everything else. And the other reason is, I mean, realistically, if you are using water, you'll probably find that, you know, it's going to take just about the same amount of time to do that infusion step anyway. You know, it's not really taking a huge amount of time out of your mash schedule, so I feel that it's actually quite effective. I'm very surprised, to be honest, how effective it was. You know, and I'm going to keep going now because I want to see how long it's going to take now to get to mash out temperature of 76 degrees. But you know, I suspect at about 20 minutes we'll probably be about there. One thing you may have noticed, I've actually sort of prodded up that hose on the ball valve there. That was just basically because as the heat started to rise, the kink on these, you can probably see just kinking there, it's kinking over and sort of restricting the flow a little bit. You can actually see here, it's quite interesting, the temperature of this has gone to, you know, what's that, it's about 84. So, I mean, it is quite interesting, but I guess that's the method of heat exchanging. But I'll keep that flame on, and you know, it might even just coincidentally end up at about that 76 in the hot liquor tank, 76 in my mash tun, and my sparge water will be the right temperature, my mash tun will be the right temperature, and I won't have to change anything, which is really, really ideal, and you know, very coincidental, but it'll be really good. So we'll come back and see how it's going. It's up to 14 minutes. That's saying 65. I reckon we're probably 70, so I reckon we're not far off. I'll be back soon. Okay, we're back. We're actually just over the 19-minute mark now. So we're not quite 20, but I'm looking at this incorrect reading. It's saying 66.8, or 67 if you want to make it nice and even. But if we get a glass thermometer here, I mean, that digital one's quite terrible actually, and you have that replaced, and I'll see if you can see this. It's going to be a little bit difficult. I don't want to fog up the camera at the same time, and also don't want to drop my camera in there. Okay, we're starting to get a bit of a reading there. Okay, that's a bit better. So as you can see, that is pretty much at mash out temperature, and I am trying to get a reading from a little lower in the mash tun, so maybe I'll try and get it around here. Sorry about that, just covered up the lens. Oh, come on, focus, you can do it. Okay, right about there. So I'd say we're about 75, so we're about a degree off, but that's actually not too bad. I mean, we're just you know, past 20 minutes now. No, that's reading 66. We know that is definitely not right. Also take into consideration here that the thermal well is actually right near the surface of the water. I mean, even when it's completely submerged, which it isn't always with every mash, and especially with an infusion mash, it's probably not going to be. It's never really been correct. But I reckon we could probably say we're at mash out temperature right now. So all in all, we could say roughly 20 minutes to get up from what was about 52 to 76. So that's 24 degrees Celsius in 20 minutes. I mean, to give it a conservative degree a minute is pretty impressive, I think. I really wasn't expecting it to work that well, but it has, which is good. Now, I guess, you know, this probably isn't an absolute indication of what we're going to expect here, because we need to consider that once there's grist in that mash tun, that it may actually change, you know, the science behind it. I'm sure there's someone who's an expert in thermodynamics might be able to tell me what that might be exactly. I can't, but you know, tomorrow will be the true test. And if you have a look here, my hot liquor tank's gone down to about 80, you know, 82, 83 maybe. That's okay. I mean, when I mash out, I'll be just chucking a couple of pitchers of cold water in there. Now, all in all, this is a fairly affordable HERMS setup if anybody is wanting to upgrade to a recirculating system. Now, I think if you're brewing already and you're thinking about that, you probably got your mash tun. Sort of goes without saying. So this for me is something that's sort of all evolved over time. The first thing I got here was my mash tun. The mash tun cost me around 200 Australian dollars, so that's probably the most expensive piece of equipment. It came with a false bottom and all the electronic components that you can see there, the timer and the, you know, bad temperature display with the thermobell, with the false bottom, I think I said, the fittings and the hose that goes out. The pump I just got online from Brewmart, I think it was. It's an Australian website. That cost me $70. The fittings, obviously, you know, go to Bunnings Warehouse, you can find just about all these things. There's, you know, probably a good sort of 50-60 bucks in fittings and hoses there with hose clamps and whatnot. That immersion chiller I got from Barleyman, which is where I get a lot of my ingredients from, a lot of my grain. Nick, who owns Barleyman's a good bloke, so you should go and shop there if you're not already. That was 120. The aluminium pot was just from a local catering supplies company, so it's just sort of pretty much a wholesaler really that also sold to the public, and it was only like $80, so it was actually quite cheap as well. And then the sparge arm was also from Brewmart, and that was 30 bucks for, you know, the PVC pipe with the, you know, split four-way here, and the little sort of spigot or sparge arm, whatever you want to call it, with the metal sort of part that goes up. And the good thing is that it's actually quite a tight fitting, but you can slide it up and down, so you can adjust the height as per your needs. So that's about it. Fairly affordable setup. I mean, you still need a couple of $100. I mean, all in all, with everything I have there, I think I'm probably mentioned it's a good $400 or so, maybe $500 worth of equipment. I've just been buying these things over time, so you know, as with any brew, I'm sure you all know, you gradually build up your setup, and you know, starts with a fermenting kit and go to brew in the bag, and you're onto all grain, and before you know it, you're spending more of your savings, but it's worth it when you get your good product. So that's it. I'm going to end the video now. Anyone who wants to make a HERMS setup, I would recommend something similar to this. You can obviously, you know, adjust it to your own, suit your own needs. I mean, this is very simple, obviously quite effective. And I mean, the only thing I think you probably need to do is just monitor the temperature of the hot liquor tank. You know, turn your gas on and off as needed, or you know, turn your heating elements, whatever you're using. You know, down the track I'll probably have a heating element in there with a temperature control, but for the moment it's just easy to monitor. I mean, nobody should be walking away from their mash while it's going anyway, so you know, if you're standing around, you can keep an eye on that and take out the coil when need be, and put it back in to heat it again when need be. And that's about it. Alright, well, hope you all enjoyed the video and enjoy brewing, and I hope this has been informative and will help others who want to set up a HERMS setup similar to this, and you know, obviously do without spending, you know, copious amounts of money. Okay, bye.